We are the Ghouls Next Door media literacy show from a horror lens where we explore the real life, historical, psychological, familial influences behind our cinematic fears. And continuing our It Is Written series, we are talking about another phenomenal writer that Kay and I both really love and appreciate. I'm so excited to be talking about Rivers Solomon today. They've been on my list for a very long time to cover in some form or shape since I read Sorrowland quite a few years ago. Since then, I've read The Deep, which I super recommend. We won't be going into it too heavily. The Deep is super quick too, and if you do the audiobook, it has Daveed Diggs. So if anything, hopefully that, inspires you. But we will be talking about two Solomon works today. We're going to be talking about Sorrowland, my heart and soul, and Model Home, which is like, ouch, my heart and soul.
Yeah, forever changed me.
Awesome. So let me hop in. I want to start with Sorrowland, which came out in 2021. So it's honestly hard to imagine a better reader for Solomon Sorrowland than me. I feel like this was made for me in a lot of ways. It is one of my favorite books, like I said, because it scratches so many of my literary and historical itches. Solomon Sorrowland is an adventurous, magical realism horror that plays on the ideas of safety, lineage, history, and justice. Sorrowland offers us the heavenly world of Caneland, built out of hope and reformation, corrupted and twisted into something monstrous. It ticks a lot of boxes for things that I just love.
All things Gabe likes. Yeah.
They made this for me.
Interesting at the very least. Yeah.
They read this to me. Sorrowland begins by introducing us to expectant teen mother Vern, who is on the run from a strict religious compound, Caneland. Seeking safety in the woods bordering the settlement, she gives birth to her twins, Howling and Feral, who are the most adorable beings in a book you've ever experienced.
I agree.
While working to survive in the wilderness and rearing her children in this wild world, Vern is also being chased by an inexplicable villain, the Fiend, seemingly hired by Caneland to find escapees just like her. Living off the land and surviving, Vern discovers that Caneland had done something to her, poisoned her, or something equally sinister, as she is now becoming something other. To better understand this metamorphosis, her growing body that is stronger and regenerating, super scary, she flees to the outside world in search of allies. There, she discovers more truths about her former home and the violent history of the world around her that could inspire such a place as Caneland, a once refuge turned against the very people it was meant to protect. Solomon's story is loosely fictitious if you ignore the body horror supernatural nature of it, and like the literal monster creatures. We're left with a very believable story built with the bricks of real world atrocity. Solomon tackles many evils in this genre-bending gothic horror, such as cults. I thought specifically of People's Temple, but there's, I'm certain, many other cults of similar vibes. COINTELPRO, very real horrors, human experimentation, segregation, and other racial terrors. These monsters are harder to distinguish from one another because they're so tangled and woven together. And Solomon does a brilliant job of revealing just what a tangled web our country has become and like has always been, both in this and in Model Home as well. The Blessed Acres of Cane, or Caneland, emerged in the shadow of anti-government groups, the Black Panthers, which are real, and Claws, CLAWS, I forget what it stands for, but that was made up. But, on the backs of these two groups, seeking to create a Black society divested from white capitalism and influence. Could you imagine? #blessed. The founders of Caneland hope to foster Black excellence and protect Black culture and people. And in the last part of the book, we see the first stages of Caneland and just how appealing it had been to the residents. It reads much like the People's Temple to me, which was the activist cult group that was led by Jim Jones, who later murdered over 900 people in Jonestown. It's famously known for drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, if you've heard that term, they're talking about the People's Temple, where that's what people drank and they died. They poisoned themselves. The People's Temple, like Caneland, was birthed out of justice and activism. The real world cult was composed of mostly Black and brown people. They organized sit-ins, demonstrations, and protests during the civil rights movement. and the desire to carve out their own paradise free from the influence of white capitalism and influence was what drove them to Jonestown, with the intention of making their own community. While the real world cult was led by a white reverend who spiraled under the weight of power, corruption, and a shit ton of drugs, the fictional paradise is led by a black man, Reverend Sherman, now filling the unfillable large shoes of his father. We learn that his father had been compromised. How can a place like Caneland be allowed to exist? Vern had asked herself when confronted with that truth. And it's because, like the COINTEL programs that took down the Panthers, see the state-sanctioned assassination of Fred Hampton, the American government used Caneland to maintain control. Because why would you continue to fight for something you thought you'd already achieved? They already got Caneland. We don't need claws anymore. Right? And if we can keep them in one place, we can keep them docile, believing that they found the dream, we can do experiments on them, right? So Caneland also is a tool for the American government, and the very white man the founders sought to escape becomes a testing ground for human experimentation. Solomon reminds us that this concept is not horror fiction, but historical, bringing to the conversation the Tuskegee syphilis study, the painful, most often deadly experiments on Black women in the pursuit of gynecological study, and more. Like, there's sickeningly amounts of testing and experiments that have been done on Black bodies and continue to be done on Black bodies, and that's what Solomon is critiquing here. Vern, educated on the many horrors of our American history, is quick to connect her poison-induced metamorphosis with the powers that be. But they never accounted for someone like Vern, who even in this man-made utopia would push back against its restrictions. She is the perfect cocktail of wrong things that makes her yearn for better. So she's queer, despite being told that those feelings are white-made and sinful. She's gender ambiguous, most likely intersex. Albino, imagine being white in a Black power commune. It's gotta be heavy. And differently abled. She has sight issues, and her body, as it's changing and metamorphosizing, if that's a word, is also, it makes her not as mobile for a while as well.
Also implied neurodivergent too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And also just like stubborn. Because like she's just very proud and stubborn, and I think like that also get like pushing out against like the structures, like in you know, confronting power can be seen as like, you know, problems instead of, you know, inspiration. So much of who she is has been labeled wrong specifically. This makes her a wonderful ma'am for her children who learn to grow unrestricted and fully as themselves under her guidance, but it also makes her the perfect savior for the compound. She's outside of the boxes of utopia that they gave everyone, so she can see it for what it really is. And outside of the history lessons and various magical soapboxes, Solomon offers us deep tales of human connectedness and the complexities of family. What a sad thing to be done with the woman that made you, offers Solomon through the sad and defeated Vern. Tell you one thing about Solomon, a fellow NB with mommy issues.
Yep.
Comes back again and again. And I'm like,
there's some lines in Model Home that like that are like also like right? My trauma is showing, like, chill.
What a sad thing to be done with the woman that made you. I was like, excuse the fuck out of you. you. Yeah. But that was so heavy because it came after a moment of Vern trying so hard to connect and maybe try to forgive. Like she opened the door to forgive her mother, and her mother was like, no. Close the door, which like how many of us have been there, right? So it's just that is really beautiful. And Vern's reasonable anger towards her mother, who at no time protected her from the horrors of Caneland or the outside world, is loud and motivational. However, Solomon does us a gracious thing in later offering us a glimpse into Vern's mam's life. We get to see how she got here, and that messed me up worse. It really humanized
because it like wasn't super her fault.
It puts in perspective when she was like, I don't even exist outside of Caneland. They have my birth certificate. They have this. Like you forget that she didn't grow up in the village, right? She was a real person. So she knows the horrors of the real world. This, okay. So it comes with some caveats, right? But like I could deal with that. Like, I think in the end of this book, when we get to see how Vern's mother got here, it also allowed us to see the beginnings of Caneland. We got to humanize the residents of Caneland. And then it also further villainized the system that created this poisoned apple paradise, because it was always two-sided. Like, the reason why Vern's mam is there in the first place was not by choice. And so, like, it was infected from the beginning. And so also, as I mentioned in our episode on Tananarive Dew, in Sorrowland, Solomon offers an alternative history where retribution can be found and lives are saved. If the people of Caneland are to be read as the people of Jonestown, the women who died under the knife and the slaves tilling till death, then in Sorrowland, they are seen, saved, and made free. Like, we get to go and reveal the horrors that had happened to them. The institutions that intended to kill, suppress, and mutilate instead create the perfect monster for their own undoing. With Vern, we get to rewrite those endings for good. In the world of Sorrowland, the magic isn't in the monsters and mycelium, it's in the act of saving our community. That's Sorrowland for you.
Yeah. Also, like, just the world that was built around, like, the mycelium piece was just so interesting too. Like, that when you lose someone, you're still the connected. Echo of them still there. Yeah. And it's like, that was really beautiful and, like, painful. And, like, you see, like, harmful people getting to do that, and then, like, people you love, and then you're like, oh, or even just strangers that you can now, that was like really emotional in, like, a really positive way.
Yeah, it to me was similar to Dew's Haints in the Reformatory, where we're getting a chance to, like, live through their trauma, but it's separate. It's approaching us as this, like, horror in itself, so it kind of, like, distances us from the reality of that situation, because those things are real things that happen. Like, outside of the fact that there's mushrooms that are connecting to us to tell us this story, like, those stories are real. Like, they're not that far off from what has happened in the world. And so I think that was really strong. I also think, like, this idea that, you know, because of the mycelium, we're able to hear and learn from the dead is also really important, because isn't it like that we don't get the full story, we don't get a true understanding, we don't get connected to people sometimes until after they're already gone.
Yeah.
And so it's tragic that that's the way that they could be the most connected, is when someone is already departed.
Yeah. And wild. Like, the echoes they leave behind. Unpacking that. It's like getting an attic full of stuff, and now you're going through it and you're just like,
you just find the picture of, like, you know, your dad's long lost love, and you didn't know that he was queer or something, you know, like something like that could happen, and you don't know that about somebody, because we live such a specific lie. We cut off everyone else, and we can only live our own, you know. So amazing work. So now on to Model Home, which hits heavy in such a different way. It does not give us that. It's not a happy ending for Sorrowland. It's just it's a better ending than a lot of people historically have gotten. Model Home, it's just ouch all the way through. So just, like, know that, like, it's always ouch. So Model Home is from 2024, so it's recent. And here's the quote. I'm so excited. Here's the quote that took both Kay and I out, and it is the first sentence. So maybe my mother is God, and that's why nothing I do pleases her. Maybe my mother is God, and that's why even though she's never once saved me, I keep praying that this time she will. And then later they also say, like, one day I'll be a failed deity.
Like, I remember I read that, like, I literally I had the audiobook on, and that sentence played, and I stopped, replayed it like 8 times.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's, 1, a bar. 2, ow.
Right.
Like, why are you screaming at me? I just picked you up.
Yeah, I just got here.
I just arrived. Okay. And also, in terms of my healing journey, like, that gave me the language that I was missing. Like, to do some of that work, like, realizing the, like, the planet that you can make out of a person.
Right.
And like, this gave me the words for that. And I was just like,
I'm telling, like,
something is both broken and healed within me in reading that sentence. And now I must read this entire book.
I feel that with Solomon's work, a lot of the times where I'm like, are we in the same therapy session? Like, did we live the same life?
Yeah. And also like the way that they humanize the mothers, which also reminds me of like that Instagram reel where it's like people with daddy issues are like, I hate that guy. And it's like people with mommy issues is like, you know, they were a complex person who was doing their best and they had all this going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're trying. And like, you know,
they're just a girl. They're just a girl.
And it's like so funny because it's like very that like they do that in their writing where like, you know, they do get a why for how we got there, and it doesn't make it okay, but you at least like are like human. Yeah, you're so right.
For both. Yeah, Sorrowland, they humanize Vern's mom so hard.
And they also write so poetically that like I'm like, I just so that's all. I'll let you continue. I'm sorry for going on a very long tangent before you summarize Model.
As someone with both mommy and daddy issues, I exist in both of those worlds. Like I literally will be like, fuck that man. Yeah. It doesn't matter. And then be like, my mom's just a girl. Okay.
Yeah, she's her best.
It's hard. And my therapist must be like, okay, well, they're a person. Let's
both of them are actually people, it turns out. Yeah. I'm a little bit on the humanizing my father arc of my life as well.
I don't need that one.
I've reached that. But it's okay if you don't. I'm just saying.
Anyway, stop. Back to the book.
Yeah,
we're not in therapy because the character in Model Home is.
Yeah, they do it for us.
They go to therapy for us. Anyway, that line, maybe my mother is God, and that's why nothing I do pleases her, is how Rivers Solomon opens their novel Model Home, and also opens my heart with a searing gash, to say the least. Ouch. Model Home is a lightly haunted house story. The house is a set dressing for a deeper horror. Like the haunted house is like, we forget about it every 5 minutes. I'm like, periodically I was like, oh right, yeah, it's supposed to be haunted.
Like spooky, yeah, of course.
I'm like reeling, like, what are we doing? In Model Home, Solomon reveals the magic and power of the young human mind's ability to craft supernatural stories of horror as a means of protection. Like, our brains are pretty powerful and amazing. The lies and worlds that we build as scaffolding against the terror of real life easily crumbles under the slightest scrutiny. When the siblings of Model Home confront the truth of their haunted home and upbringing, it brings the whole thing crashing down. So Model Home offers us Esri, a gender-fluid, gender-ambiguous person with a haunted past who was forced to confront the truth after the death of their parents. Esri and their two sisters, Eve and Emmanuel, grew up in a white gated community in Dallas. Their home is the model home of the neighborhood, which was, model homes are the ones that are set up. They're already furnished. They're like the prettiest looking ones because they're there to sell the whole neighborhood. It's like the IKEA of a house. The IKEA showroom, but every room is the showroom, right?
Yeah.
And so they live in the model home of this neighborhood, and they are the model family of Black excellence against the white monolith. After a childhood of hauntings, monstrous things happening in their picture-perfect McMansion, each of the siblings fled, leaving their parents to fend for themselves. Only now, they're dead, inexplicably, and the siblings must confront that haunted home and their haunted memories for answers. It's a loud revelation to find the only Black couple in a white-gated community dead. And question mark, what happened here? And then when you find out what happened, more questions. So Esri struggles with their memories the most, their life of torment often being blamed for the hauntings and being misunderstood for their neurodivergency, leaving them unable to find connections with their family. Their sisters are distant, and in an effort to flee the shadow of their childhood, they fled to England, where they raised their child Elijah alone. Now returned, Esri recalls the horrors of their life and the resistance of their strong-willed mother to buckle under the pressure of evil, supernatural or otherwise. She was like, this is my home. I don't care what you're doing in it.
Yeah.
Crazy work. Model Home isn't about a haunted house. I mean, haunted houses aren't about haunted houses, but it is very much about a model home, right? A facade furnished and outfitted with all the fixings of a real home and yet completely devoid of realness, of home. as a concept. This theme of opposition, firmly existing in spaces you do not fit, playing a role that you do not own, resurfaces throughout the novel. Solomon explores the duality of not only our country, but of our humanity that easily establishes buckets of good and evil. These binaries of existence only enforce Ezri's otherness, right? Their life in the fringes of society. Nothing about them exists in those boxes that the world created, similar to Vern in Sorrowland. Like, Solomon right in their life. So Ezri does not embody any gender, instead having a gender brokenness is what their sister Eve says. They're neurodivergent, they're intelligent on their terms and according to their rules. They're queer and uninterested in labels, and they are a naturally imperfect parent, which makes them better, I feel like, than a lot of parents. They need some work. They're definitely still getting there. Some things I was like, you're hurting me. But they're trying their best, which is, you know, that's all you can do.
So are we all doing. Right. The damaging of children is inevitable in society.
Right.
Like, it is impossible to not. It's just try to do the least damage as possible. And that's like largely what they're trying to do. And then like well-intentions too. It's like there are pieces where they're like, I stayed away because I knew I wasn't good. And then like that also, I was like,
right. But and they're also like actively still in healing process. And so that's like, I mean, you can only give the best version of yourself that you have right now, right? You can't give the part of yourself tomorrow because you're not here yet, you know, like, so I think like just even acknowledging that is like a million steps forward than a lot of parents who are like, I'm perfect.
No, so real.
I know everything.
10 out of 10.
I'm the mom, you know, like it's not how that works.
Yeah. We don't need pride. Parenting. Pride and parenting disconnected, please.
Right. Okay. So Ezri is very much like Vern in that way, where they exist on this like outer world, and there's a humbling nature to them as parents, but also just like I would say Ezri has a bit more of a struggle to accept themselves. Vern, I feel like from the get is like, I'm not allowed to be like that, but I am.
Yeah,
you know?
like
so,
it's not me, it's y'all.
Right. Like,
yeah.
Like I have it, like they're always very like Vern is always like, I have to fight against that because Caneland is wrong, so that has to be wrong. And it's just like I'm acknowledging that it comes up and any doubt I have is from them. It's like that's their voice. Ezri doesn't know whose voice is in their head. That's the struggle.
Yeah.
So the novel grapples with expectation and obligation, confronting our biases. Home is a place to run to, not from, right? Family, a protecting force of unconditional love, not judgment and pain, not conditions. Gated communities are safe and neighborly, not corrupt and villainous. Solomon confronts these truths boldly. Everything whiteness does can be rationalized as good, and everything blackness does can be rationalized as preternaturally evil, is a line that Ezri says to their it's like, that kind of like stark definition is what they're trying to combat against, which is like an insane mountain to find yourself on top of, you know. The haunted nature of the home is a secret shared sparingly through the novel. However, the true horrors of the racist neighborhood are offered in the subtleties. In the same insidious way, microaggressions can seep into everyday interactions, building into something significantly more monstrous in time. Similar to Jordan Peele's Get Out, Solomon focuses on these smaller moments of racism that are easily dismissed, leaving the character in danger for far too long. In fact, there are moments when they almost flee, the bruises and evidence of the hauntings piled high enough to push down their resolve, yet their mother's persistence keeps them in danger. Her need to occupy this space, in defiance of the evil forces set against them, stronger than her fear. She's like, I belong here, and I get that, but also, like, can we weigh what's important? It's okay. That's all right.
No, absolutely.
I get it. Like someone's got to do it, right? Like in the civil rights movement, somebody had to go to the school and be traumatized for a week, right? Like somebody had to do that.
The thing I want to say, I can't say because it'll spoil it, but like there was stuff in the stuff that made them not.
Yeah. Right.
It's hard.
Right. Right. There's a lot going on. I'm not trying to pass any blame. Yeah. I'm just saying there was like, I get why it's hard for them to walk away because it's so easy to dismiss the things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not even just as a haunted house, just as like, that's sometimes stuff we have to deal with. That's just the reality of the world. Like we just sometimes have to do that, which is why they stay for longer than they really should. The model home critique isn't limited to this neighborhood, however, as Solomon periodically ventures outside this gated community to confront the suffering on a larger scale. It's not only this one Black family in a predominantly white neighborhood. It's all of America's BIPOC communities in a suffocating white supremacist system. It's all of the world's vulnerable communities being strangled out of their land and legacy. Solomon connects the Black American experience to the Jewish, to the Palestinian, and Esri's therapy sessions, supplied intermittently throughout the story and offered without quotations, which was hard to get into. They struggle with Ursula Le Guin's The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas, which is a story that proposes society can only accept a perfect world at the expense of others, which is not true, but that's how our world exists. So that's the only one we know, right? Capitalism means we have all these luxuries and, you know, safety because somebody else is suffering. So yeah, you have the model house, but you're in a neighborhood and you're dying inside. Like your exterior is beautiful, your lawn is mowed, but inside your children are dying. So this leads to Esri spiraling out into critiques on nationalism and military force, which it only becomes more evident in our real world. Solomon is a mythical powerhouse, expertly skilled in blending the supernatural, magical, horrific, and our stark, tragic realities. Their work is a confrontation of the systems of injustice, both historical and present, offered in digestible adventures where the magic of our world protects us. Both of these books are brilliant, offering a different approach to coping, reformation, and rage. To me, Model Home feels like present-day horror, but Sorrowland feels ancestral.